Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Javier, for coming back and for being an amazing creative leader. I know that you've been with us for a little bit. Um, I think that the little bit of things that we're going to be talking about, I think you've already heard, but this is just for everybody, anyone that's out there wanting to know what the Creative Leaders is. Basically, this program allows youth in the area and youth interested in the arts to use their art skills to be able to make some change in their community, right? The whole idea is that by using any of the current talent that they have or any talent that they might be able to develop, to infuse that with any leadership skills that they learn, um, and to grow as artists and also make impactful changes in the community. So as you already know, the program right now, we're meeting every Wednesday from 5:30 to 6:30. We're doing it on Zoom. And like I already mentioned, is for the youth, so from 15 to 19 years old. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Juanita Vazquez. I'm an illustrator and educator from the Monterey area. Primarily, my day job is working in a community college. I work in higher education, but I also use a lot of my daily experiences and put them into illustrations. I do little comics about myself, my daily life, and then little musings that happen throughout the day. And really, the reason why I use art is just to use it as a vehicle to express myself. So that's really how I use the art and the work that I do.
So my name is Jessica Cerritos. I am new. I work in higher education and I consider myself a lifelong learner. I like to try out different art fields. Primarily, ink drawing is kind of my constant, and I like metalsmithing. I have a small studio set up in my garage. But that's a little bit about me.
My name is Lisa. I was actually part of Artist Inc. when it first started in 2013 with The Tree in the Valley. I was a high school at the time. I think I was a sophomore because it was 2013. Or I should have been either a sophomore or a junior. And at the time during high school, I was into fashion design, but I didn't really want to do that after high school. I was kind of like, no, I don't know what I want to do anymore. And I kind of just drifted off into going to community college undeclared. And then I just decided to go into art. So I majored in art, and then I went down and I transferred to Cal State Long Beach. So I went to the CSU school in Long Beach for about 3 years, and I majored in animation illustration. So I got to work in a gallery for a Japanese print artist for 1 semester. I've worked with Artist Inc. now that I came back we just finished working with the OLI program for stop motion animation, and I've had some experience working on films for school, just like animated films, short films. There you go.
Thank you, Lisa. So we're excited to have Lisa also be part of the creative leaders and Artist Inc. Team.
Yes, so this is our kickoff to the stART, a professional artist series. And so the object of the series is to give an overview about how to look into art school or a professional career in the arts. This might not be something that we're all exposed to. And so it's an overview just to give information of how to address some of the hurdles that may present themselves when you're considering these things. So for example, the first in our series the topic is building an art portfolio, and it's not something that's, I would say, common to be taught in schools. So this is our objective is to make this more accessible for all, and the series itself will help us connect and build bridges with our support systems, and just how to start in general with a career or those interests. And so these are our fall 2021 program dates. The first one is today, which is building an art portfolio. On the 10th of November the topic will be art school programs. And so this workshop will cover the different types of art schools that you can apply to in degree programs available in California, and it'll give you a glimpse into what the application process might look like. And so it can help you decide if maybe that's something of interest, maybe that's something you hadn't considered before. And then on December 1st, the topic is getting buy-in, telling your family about the arts. Sometimes that's a difficult conversation to have with your family and friends. They might not understand kind of how you might either make a living or how it would be sustainable. So that's an effort to have some talking points in terms of how to have those conversations and give information and connect with your family. And then December 8th, the topic is Kickstart Your Career, Art in Action. And this last one is what are some tangible steps that you can take? And so we'll be providing kind of a small checklist for how to just build upon your knowledge and skills base to start in your daily life. And so, as I mentioned, today's topic is building an art portfolio. And we'll go over documentation of an art portfolio and how to assemble and what that may look like. And our presenter today, her name is Lisa Lopez, and she's a Yoli Arts mentor. She graduated from California State University, Long Beach with a BFA in illustration, as she mentioned. She's an emerging artist working in both digital and traditional media. And Lisa, I will pass this over to you.
Hi, you guys. I didn't know exactly I knew the audience ages were 15 to 19, but I do know that there's different careers in art and there is different factors, but I went ahead and focused on my experience, and then I wanted to focus not only what goes into your portfolio or how to develop one, but mainly how to figure out what you need for what you want in your portfolio. This is a start building an art portfolio. And I kind of wanted to talk about, before I wanted to go into our portfolio, just keep going on and on, I just wanted to make a really basic definition of what a portfolio means. And a portfolio to me means that it's a body of work. That's it. It's just, as an artist, you have a body of work, whether you're a musician, whether you're into ceramics or metal, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a videographer, you're into filming. It's just a body of work that represents you. And I have these stingers here because it's really corny, but one of the most important things about art in general is to figure out what your voice is. People I see, especially when I was talking to students in school, they were more interested in what's my style? What can I do to show off or like be unique or be independent? And all of that kind of accumulates into your voice as an artist, and your voice as an artist is what interests you, what you gravitate towards, and what you want to say through your work. So what it means to you. It's all about your interest. It's a bit of a selfish way to think about it, but I find it's very helpful. So in your portfolio, in your body of work, right now, typically it's in the form of a website, social media, or a blog. I would say social media, usually it's about Instagram, but I'm going to show you guys various different forms of social media sites, because there is ArtStation if you're into gaming, and then blogs are really good too, because you can just throw a blog on and all of those are free, and you can have just something to work just to show. It's just literally to show people what you do, so that when you say I'm an artist and someone goes, cool, where can I see your work? We'll be like, here we go. There you go. There it is. And typically for portfolio, the nice little form is around 10 to 20 pieces, or if you're going to do something with music or animation, you want to keep it to about a 3 to 5 minute video. Usually for animation, I do know that it's going to be whether it's rigging, character test design, anything like that, you're going to also want it to be muted. So that's only for animation tests. If you're going to apply for school or anything like that, just mute it or have something fun like Carefree from YouTube. And then the 5 minutes is probably it's not obviously going to be different for film, because you're going to want to have to know everything. And then the most important part about a portfolio in general, before we continue on, is you need to have your name and your contact information everywhere. Like every sheet of paper, just have it. Like you have to have on your website, on your work, it's kind of like This is me. This is where to find me. This is how to get in contact with me. Like me. You're just gonna be, you know, that's it. It's your work. Make sure people know it's your work. So, and then I just put down a couple of websites because I wanted to share it with you guys, or I guess share the link into the Discord. So you can use websites like Blogger, Wixsite, Weebly, which are free, and then paid websites later on if you want to, or like if you're in college and you're going to do, or once you go to college and you want to start applying for maybe internships, or if you want to start applying for jobs outside of work and you want your own URL, you're going to have to go with Squarespace or carbonmade.com. Those are two good sites. And then I just kind of had this question emailed to me. It was like, do you need a portfolio or work as an artist? Yes, we went over this. I would like to beg the argument that you can't, I would not call myself an artist if I had no work to show for it, because I feel like being an artist at your core is having work. Sorry for my dog. But we're going to just continue on. So what portfolio do I need? Again, this is just a really general, basic overview goal. So the most important part about figuring out what you need in a portfolio, if you're lost, if you're confused, if you've never done it before, is you need to figure out who you are, where you're going to go. So you need to know your goals, because we have to figure out how we can get you to what you want. So we have different students. We have student A, who graduates high school, and you transfer to college undeclared. You can be like me, where you didn't know what you wanted to do. So then you can chill. You don't really need a portfolio right now. You could just do art on the side. You'll be good to go. But if you're in high school and you went for an AP test, a portfolio generally has to go to the rules and guidelines of that test, because you need to pass. You have some sort of standard that you have to pass, and your work has to show for that. If you're going to graduate high school and then immediately start your own business after work, like sell t-shirts, go on Etsy, you're going to need to have work to show for that as well. 1 second. Never mind. I think we're good. I'm sorry about that. That was a lie. Hopefully that's not too bad for you guys. The background noise. Kind of annoying.
I don't think it's too loud.
Okay,
I don't know what the rest of the.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just, for me, I'm just kind of like, oh wait, hold on.
Oh, you get distracted.
Let me solve this right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back into it. It's fine. Yeah. So, but if you're a high school student and you need a P-test, then you need to follow rules and guidelines for a portfolio. If you want to start your own business, you have to have work to show, so that way people are interested in it, and you can start running a business, selling your merchandise. Because you can't be like, oh yeah, I have the coolest sticker in the world. And they're like, cool, let me see it. And you're just kind of like, nah, you have to buy it first. Like, that's kind of, maybe today you can get away with it, but it's a little, you got to show what you have. And then if you want to apply to all, I put fancy colleges because it's just fancy. If you want to apply to all the colleges ever in the world, you need one. And the most important thing is that the portfolio is a body of work based on both your need and your interests of what you want to show. That's just across the board. That's how you figure out where to go, where you're going to set your pieces, what are you going to do, and what do you need in your portfolio? Because your portfolio is a body of work, but what does it consist of? Oh, my bad. So we're going to over student D applies to school. So I'm going to say, well, the same questions. What type of art is the student interested in? Is it ceramics? Is it more fine art? Is it performance art like theater? We got to find out the rules, the guidelines, and if we're going to have an application, a deadline, because nothing matters after you pass the deadline, whether it's applying to a job, whether it's applying to school, a scholarship, a grant. If it's past the deadline, it doesn't matter. How much work is necessary? How many pieces do you need? What's the format required? That's kind of like, is it a JPEG? Is it a movie? Are you going to do an MP4, MOV? Is it going to be a cinematic movie where you can only shoot maybe like a 16:9 ratio? You can't do anything else. So you can't do a 3:4 on TV. And then also, what's the level of work accepted? It's supposed to be competition. So kind of like if you're applying to school, and if you're going to apply, maybe you can watch to CalArts. So you can watch CalArt videos of student accepted portfolios, and you can see exactly what their level is at what they did when they applied. I'm going to show you mine actually. I found my close enough. I found a close enough to, I think, almost all the pieces I use to get into the animation program or illustration program at school in college. So I can show you that one, at least for the college level acceptance. And then also, what type of work does the student already have and does it meet expectations? That's number 6. I think that's the most important part, because you can already have a huge body of work and it's good to have a nice healthy ego, but you have to think critically and ask yourself, does this work meet the expectations of what I'm supposed to achieve? So if I'm going to apply to school and I have this body of work, I have these illustrations, I have digital art, does this match what they're looking for? And you can use it by searching online, which I'll show you right now. Let me just escape out of here. This one's for later, because I'm going to go and show you how to actually find out what you need. And I'm going to use my school to do it. So I went to Cal State Long Beach. And just so you know, just so you guys know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Just really quickly, I was lost, and I took art my last year because I only was at community college for 2 years. I took full time, and then I worked my last semester. And I had one teacher, Mr. Cal Canal, and he was like, "You know what? You're pretty good at design. You should go to Long Beach State. It's a great design program." And I had no idea what the hell it was. I talked to my guidance counselor at Hartnell College, and I graduated high school with 3.2, just so you guys know. Just for those of you in high school, you don't have to freak out, it's 3.2. But I was a C student, CB, more like a B student. And yeah, he told me that I should go to Long Beach State. And he told me that right after I went to go talk to Hartnell counselor, because I wanted to go to San Jose State University for illustration. I knew at least I wanted illustration or animation. And then the counselor at Hartnell said, "You're not going to have a chance. You don't have a 4.0. What are you talking about? Like, why would you think about going to San Jose State? Everyone goes there." And then I remember my high school teacher got mad at me, my art teacher, because she was like, "Why didn't you apply to San Jose State? Everyone accepts you as a freshman." But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just went to Hartnell, and there's nothing wrong with going to community college. And so then I just applied to Long Beach State after my teacher told me, my professor at Hartnell. And I was kind of like, okay, I'll just apply to Long Beach, see how it goes. And if I don't get in, I'll work for a year. And I applied, and I called them beforehand. I called the school up beforehand, and I asked them, and I was like, "Hey, I see, because Long Beach State has a separate program, you can get accepted into the BA of art, which means you don't need a portfolio, but you're going to take the general breadth of knowledge of the arts. And that means you're going to take classes in ceramics and woodwork and fiber, in printmaking and photography." And I knew I didn't want that. Well, I knew I didn't want really ceramics printmaking at the time, and fiber, textile, I should be more specific. So I called them and I was like, "Hey, I really want to apply to your BFA program. And I saw you only have, Long Beach State has 2 chances to get into their program. San Jose State, you have 1 chance." And I also heard, although this is not, I don't know for sure, but I heard that they test their students or they check up on them every year. Long Beach doesn't do that. But we only have 2 chances to get in. So I called beforehand, and they said to apply as a BA, general, not a fine arts degree, get into the school, build a portfolio, and then apply. So I have 2 chances to get in. And this is how I did it. I went here I searched up CSULB. I went to the undergraduate and graduate catalog. All the schools have this. So you can search up anything you want in your year that you're going to be applying. Or if you're going to apply for next year and you want to plan ahead, look up the year before. It's going to be in their archives. Then you're going to go into your colleges and departments. Right here. Mine's on the top. It's College of the Arts. I go into art. Some of them might be designated as visual art or design. That's just up to you. Design is mainly for if we're going to do industrial design, architecture, anything like that. That's going to be a little bit more engineering. And so this gives you a general idea. It gives you the entire curriculum of what it is in art. It gives you the school director, everyone you need to know, the advising facility, and the faculty and life model coordinator. So the advising center, and it's actually Michael Namery, that's the one I spoke to when I asked him about 4 or 5 years ago now, do I apply to the BFA program with a portfolio? And he said no. he said to go into the school first, so that way I can see what the students are doing, get the assignments, and talk to the teachers before I apply. And it gives you all the career possibilities, and all the schools have their catalog and they'll have some version of this. But the most important part is it tells you all of their programs of what it has and their minor degree, certificates, and then the courses. So we're going to go into mine, which is Art, Illustration, Animation, BFA. Then we're going to go and it says the BFA, Bachelor's of Arts, gives you a description. It says that you need to have a 3.0 for the entire time for 2 consecutive semesters, because the way they do it is if you fall below a 3.0 for 2 consecutive semesters a year, you will be kicked out of the program once you get in. And we have to have all these lower division courses, and you can take different tracks. They have a new pre-production track, and this is all that it takes to get in. And that's all that requires. So this kind of gives you a good overview, and then they'll have their own idea of what it is for the BFA requirements. But you'll have to call them to find out more information on that. But this just gives you a general overview of like what it is you'll be doing and what it takes to get in there. So that's how you kind of find out what it is that you want and what you're going to be learning. And then you just have to look up some more information on BFA portfolio and then go more specific for what you want. I just didn't really want to do that because I know that there might be students in different areas of art, but I can actually show you what I applied with. And so this one is my portfolio of my work at the time when I was a student. So this is pretty much what I was talking about with the posing. So this was when drawing from life. And so, because for art, one of the best things you can do is draw from life. You can draw yourself in the mirror, you can draw whatever is around you, you can draw landscape, still life. Those are the foundations: portrait, figure, landscape, still life. And so that's what I was saying when I was talking about how I drew my own hand. This was pretty much me drawing my hand or looking up, things online or reference photos, and then, timing myself and repetition. And then let me get into, this is the one where I was saying where it was right here is gesture drawing. That's where we draw for like a minute to, I would say gestures are no more than 5 minutes. Some people will say 10. But 5 minutes is more than enough time to get information down, or else you're just going to be focused on the details, and that's not the point of a gesture.
Is that Attack on Titan?
Huh? Yeah, she was dressed up as Attack on Titan.
That is cool.
See, you saw that. Boom. She's actually exactly dressed as Attack on Titan, I remember.
I literally just recognized the swords.
Nice. See, I did a good job then, huh? But yeah, so this was funny because he posed like if he was gonna go into a swimming pool, but he's obviously nowhere near a swimming pool. And these I posed 2 separate drawings, but that's why I did gestures. And then I also drew from life. So I used to work at a hat store. I used to work at it's called the Village Hat Shop, and then I had another job, and it was working in retail at the the tourist area. It's kind of like the equivalent of Monterey if you go to the wharf. But it's the Long Beach Wharf because they have their own really big aquarium. And I worked at the hat shop, and it was raining one day and no one came in. So I had my sketchbook with me, and I just drew my store. So this is my store essentially, and this is the counter where I was behind working, and no one came in, and my manager was just like, yeah, draw. And so these are more of our stands. This is a stand of our hats because we have some crazy hats. So, that. And this was just me with the pen showing to when you're applying to art, you want to show that you understand foundations of art. So you want to show that you can understand line, form, values, everything that has structure and tone. And being able to draw from life means that you have good, not like hand-eye coordination, I would say, but you have a good idea of scale, of weight, of appearance, just what's in front of the other, perspective, because we know that this side of the bench, if can you guys see my little mouse?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we know that this side of the top right here of this stand, this is in perspective, because this one's in front of the other, because this is lighter, this is darker, so it's being hit by the light. So we know that the light is cast is shining from the right side, and it's causing shadows to appear. And we know that this hat, which is from the Nightmare Before Christmas, I forgot his name, the boogie guy, Oogie Boogie, Oogie Boogie, I don't know. But we know that he's darker in value and in tone than the American hat, because I hatched him to be tonally in darker value than the rest of it. Right. But so this is JJ, and then this is where we have, like I was saying, you measure it by your heads, and then you measure the jaguar, and then you have the expressions, and then you have the full body, and then I went down and did a little rendered version and a little color scheme. But it was just, like I said, it was overall very cute, because I was like, wow, the teachers really looked out for me, like future me. And then this is my inspiration. So I went from the Olmec jaguar, part of Mesoamerica. And so I took that jaguar and I just kind of made different colored versions of him. And I named him JJ because it was literally Jaguar. That's unrelated, but you need to know. And this is actually a little piece I did during community college, which was just an ink wash. So it's just a bunch of crows and birds, crows and swans. And I had the swans. The swans are just pretty much white of the paper. And then everything else is I darkened in, and I did ink wash, and I used pen. There we go. Let's skip one. No, we're done. And then this one was another one I submitted. This is actually one of our foundation classes at school. This is my intro to illustration class. We had to learn about 5 different styles of illustration and combine them in a way. So I had the cartoon style of the 40s, I believe, which is kind of like the old Mickey Mouse. Then we had Art Nouveau right here. Then we had Japanese like woodblock printmaking, surrealism, and I combined surrealism with what other art that Kathy Cole is. It's like artist Kathy Cole is like super known for, but I can't think of it in my head at all right now. It's this really dark, really negative type of art, and I kind of combined the surrealist view with this dark, nuanced drawing. So yeah, this is kind of like my art. The art styles combined into an illustration. And I think this is my final kind of image where I did a painting. This is my very first oil painting and my very first life painting. I like painting a model both in one, and it's actually a cute little story because it's I never actually took a painting class. I somehow was able to graduate without going into a painting class because, well, I went to Hartnell, but I don't really count it because when I went to Hartnell, my intro to painting class was by this woman, and she gave us, I paid her $5 for a Crayola watercolor set. And she was just like, okay, paint. And it was not a very good experience in terms of I knew nothing of color theory or how to handle water, what pound of the paper meant, what a hot press was versus a cold press, how to take what is a watercolor set, like how to build your own color set, your own palette, so that way you can develop it further, and really how to use, I didn't learn how to use a medium, and I didn't even really learn how to paint, but that was my equivalent for the intro to painting class. And so what I did instead is when I transferred to Long Beach State, I was kind of hit with like, oh, there's so many things I don't know about art, but I only have about a year until I can no longer apply to this program to be in illustration animation major. And I really wanted that because at Long Beach State, when you apply to that program, you get an extension of your year. So you have to go through the CSU system, which is still a very good system and it's affordable. I went because I had the FAFSA. But when you get into that program, you get an extra year. So it's a 5-year program in all. If you transfer, it was only 3 years for me. But it's a 5-year program and you get to devote that extra year just on the major you picked. So I get to devote it just to illustration and animation courses. for my program. And then the other 2 years before that, when you become a BFA major, you kind of just take more art history, just a few more art history classes, and a few more classes a little bit beyond your selection, like what you chose, so you can still have a good understanding of art, because you can always learn about your art and what you do through different media and subject. So it's always cool to learn. And so what I did when I did my oil painting, since I never took oil painting class at Long Beach State, or a color theory class, or just a general painting class. I always wanted to. It didn't work out in my schedule, but I bothered the drawing and painting department a ton because I wanted to learn how to draw the figure, because I was only told drawing from life helps the best. So I stuck my butt into figure drawing classes, and I went into this art painting class, which was for drawing and painting majors who were in their second to final year, the fourth to fifth final year at Cal State Long Beach. So they were about to graduate either that semester, next semester, like super. So they were good. They were like up there in my, like, just gods in my opinion. And what I did is I went into this class, and they had, I believe this one was the last model. It was the last pose, and it was the last maybe 4 weeks of the semester. And she came in 2 days a week, and she did that pose. And I came in 2 days a week for the last 4 weeks during that time, because I had that class period was free, and I was on campus all day. So I would go in on my own time. I sat down on the floor, on the cold floor, surrounded by these artists painting on giant canvases with their easels, all of that. And I just sat down on the floor and I'm drawing, or I stood up one time and I'm drawing in my sketchbook. And then I had my one really good friend, Yulia, who was an MFA at the time, and she was also teaching foundation art level to freshmen. And she was just like, "What the hell are you doing? Join us." And then it was the, oh my gosh, how many days was it? I think I only had I had a couple days. And she went to her studio, because MFA students have their own little studio on the campus. She went to her studio. She brought out a tiny easel. It was a 12 by 18. Oh my gosh, I have the painting. I have it. You guys won't be able to see it, but it's like this. Can you see? I can see. But yeah, so this painting was I think this is 12 by 18 that I'm holding. And she brought this painting out. It was brand new, like the Michaels one that you buy. And then she brought out a small little palette, and she brought out her paints, gave me 2 brushes. No, give me 1 brush. I had another girl give me this medium to use for oil paint. Kind of complicated. But she gave me all the supplies, and she was just like, paint with us. And I was like, okay. Like, what am I gonna say? She scares me. Like, she literally scared me. Because it was kind of like, what am I gonna say in a room full of painting majors and my instructor, who's been painting his whole life for 4 years, when I've been sitting in this room or joining them and bothering this man so I can join in his classroom to learn how to draw a figure. And what am I gonna be like? No, I'm not gonna paint. But I felt bad because I was using her materials, but she made me paint, and I was just like, okay, so then this is my very first painting. Yeah. So that's how I did my very first painting, my very first oil painting and life painting. And that's the story of that. So make friends with people who will yell at you. I lost my train of thought, but yeah. And then the other 2 are just in acrylic, and I basically had this as my only little painting section for when I applied. But this is pretty much all the work that I had when I applied. When I was applying, I was terrified. I was doing everything last minute, for the love of God. Oh, I have my animations. Hold on, sorry. There we go. So, and then I literally took I had intro animation. And then another semester later, I had animation 1. And this is animation 1 work. So this is baby animator Lisa. And I all the stuff I animated, these 4, I animated this 3 days before I turned this in, and I turned it in like almost towards the last day of the deadline. And it was my last chance to get in because I actually got rejected the first time when I tried to get into illustration. And then I was just like, okay, I'll go for animation next time because I just wanted to get in. I didn't care at that point. I was like, no, give me the extra year. I want it. So I was in this class making the stuff every single week. And then I was like, okay, let's put that in. So it's not even good, but it was like he yawned. That was my little jaguar. And he gets scared. But he doesn't know any better, you know? He's just a jaguar. This is my pillow. I showed him falling off. We could do anything we want with our pillow. It's because it simplifies the body into a bean, and then we can show weight and reaction and give it emotion and character by the way it reacts, by the way it goes from the hill to the bottom. And I made mine kind of like hop, get scared, and then I wanted him to plop. So that's kind of what I did. And then I made this little mage, which was just kind of like a little secondary thing because I had the fabric and the hat going, and then a basic walk cycle. And then this guy, I made him all buff, and he like explodes because he's like, huh. Yeah. And I really like it because he gets angry, because my thing was that he was a part of the were-jaguar's partner, because in Olmec, it's kind of like the were-jaguar is a god where he's half human, half jaguar. And I was just kind of like, let's have a cute little jaguar statue, like my character JJ. But instead, he's like this statue, but he's laying down in his lap. Even if he might be a ghost, he's still very heavy and won't move. So this dude is just like trying to lift him up, and he goes like, oh. And then his, let me see if I can, so his chest is really big. Well, then he gets really big. And then he just explodes, and he's just so tiny and useless and like a spaghetti. Like, what are you doing, man? But you know, that's just who he is. He can't really help himself. So this is hold on one sec. Yeah, so this is the whole part of the animation that I had. So this was the entire portfolio that I had when I applied. This was my animations. This is my painting, my illustration part, another character animation, and figure drawing.
So, Lisa, I'm wondering, so I see that you have a lot of different types, you know, in art mediums.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I remember you saying is that a portfolio really is about your voice, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you, at least in that portfolio that you showed, or in any other portfolio, how do you show your voice, even if it's like different types of art, right? Like you have painting, you have animation, you have those types of stuff. How would you tell people to show their voice? Is there a way to do that or no?
That's pretty much just what I was gonna get into. Thank you. Yeah, so that's just what I did at that level, right? Because I needed to apply for animation, and I know that I was at school, and you need drawings from life, you need character designs. If I need animation, I needed animation examples. But like I was gonna say, so when you find your voice, it's pretty much, that's not me finding my voice, that's me just trying to be a student, because I'm trying to show what I'm capable of, right? So I'm just trying to submit this portfolio, tell them to let me in, be a BFA student, but my voice might be something entirely different, which is, I guess I'll just show my website first, because that would make more sense. Yeah, let me do that. So I have a website. It's actually this one, switched it. So I have my website on Squarespace, which is I pay for the URL, it's free. And so my voice is kind of like, I love figure drawing, and this is all of my drawings over the years. This is when I applied to the BFA. This is actually right after I applied and I got accepted. I hit like this really good point, and I was like, dang, I made this. I like understand form, shapes, shadows. So this is really like special to me, because it helped me prove to myself that it was good. And then these are the same drawings that I have. So I like figure drawing. This is my portfolio. So figure drawing is part of my portfolio, and then I also have this Synodic, which is my senior thesis that I did. I really like distorting forms. I feel like a figure, you can learn a lot about the figure, and since I'm kind of more weak in my traditional fine art sense of oil painting, watercolor, acrylics, but I know and I'm more comfortable with digital art and with charcoal, I stick to that. And so I made a series of work that was really large and really big. And so like this work is 8 feet long. So it's 42 inches this way, hot dog. And no, hamburger. Yeah, that's the same. Yeah, hamburger this way. And then this way, it runs 8 feet, just about 8 feet. And I started this at the wall at school because I graduated in 2020. So I started out in school and I had this tacked on a wall and I was just kind of drawing as I go. I can show you how it looked before. And then I had to take it home because I didn't have a car the entire time I was at school. And I used the bus and I just felt unsafe with COVID and using the bus. So I moved home and I graduated from home instead. And that's why I did it back in students. And so that's kind of like, this is my thing, my sort of stuff. And I had a pastel drawing on top. This is my format. This is kind of like my voice is me distorting and using the figure and using my line weight, which I've been told is very delicate and it's also very sharp. And I have a great sense of curves, straights and curves, which is essential to animation. But I used what I learned in animation and really loosening up my hand, because I still have a heavy hand, but I just mean loose in terms of I think in a more straightaway sense. So when I draw, I want to get it on the canvas and I want to get it on the page as fast as possible, and I want to keep going, and I want to make things appear in and out of form, in and out of shape, distort the perspective, but I need to have it make sense. So I need to understand what I'm doing in order to imagine it, and so this is like my voice is this is the visual tone of my project. And this was how it was on the wall when I was creating it, because I literally didn't plan it. I was like, let's bring back the crows, let's bring back people. This is my feelings of emotions. So I wanted to stick to one color, and it changed over time. And that's pretty much that. And then I also have, let me go back to my portfolio. One of the things I was really interested in still is the the Olmec and the Zapotec, sort of the Mesoamerica. I say Zodiac because I did base them off the Zodiac, just in terms of varying my mask designs. So I had this like character design of a fish god. And so your voice is kind of just what's important to you, what do you want to explore, what do you want to show, and like where are you at. So at this point in my life, I would want it to be last year the last 2-3 years, I kind of was like, oh, let's do some character design, let's get into it, let's have some fun. But now that I'm here back home, I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of want to help other students and learn about what they can do. And so this is a little bit more of like the draw this in your style. If you're on Instagram, you can also use that to practice your drawings. This is how I tell what plays it can. And that's sort of, my voice is mainly the good stuff, which is my life drawing and here. But if you don't know about your voice, you can also just look at people who inspire you. That's another way of showing your voice. But it really just means staying true to what do you like, what do you care about, why are you, that's the big question, is sort of like, why are you an artist? Why are you here? Why are you struggling? Or why do you care so much about doing art? Maybe you don't care about doing it, but like, what do you think is the reason you need to do it? Like, why is it a necessary thing for you to live, in a way, in a dramatic sense? So you can look at artists that you like. And this is a photographer that I really love her work because she shows people in everyday life, and she has a really nice and bright palette. And this is her work on Coney Island. So she just kind of goes around shooting people from Coney Island. She has a certain aesthetic of pastels, and this is her work on the beach, and she simply put in this one, Coney Island, that's it. So she has all of her work. This is how I said when we're doing our portfolio. Your portfolio could be a website. It could be, well, if you were older, it could be like a Tumblr page, or you could just do Google Blogger. anything like that, Instagram, Twitter, all of those things. So that, and then, you know, this person has all their interviews that they did since they're a photographer, all their print features. So they're very, very successful in terms of, and what I would say would be successful. I mean, look at all this work. And then just, his photographs, I'm sorry. Yeah. I love this photographer. And then there's other people I like. This is if you want to do animation, short stories, storyboarding, work in pre-production design, concept art. This person just has a bunch of reels that they did during college, and it's Wesley Fuh. If you're doing game design, anything like that, any sort of film, you're gonna want to be on ArtStation. That's where everyone posts their things. This person is visual art, but if you do 3D models, all of that, it's all on ArtStation. But you probably already knew it if you want to do game design. But this is a wonderful way to connect with other artists, and you can see who they're following, what their likes are, all of this. Like if I go to, let's see, this guy, look at that little sculpture. It's so cute. Yeah, it's adorable. So, or if you want to do cinematography, this is cinematographer Hiro Murai. I really like Atlanta, the show. I love their intros when they show the title of Atlanta. I think it's amazing every time they introduce new episodes. That's actually my favorite part. I feel like it's really weird that that's my favorite part, but I mean, I love his work. He works with Childish Gambino. So I mean, he has his website and it has all these videos that are not loading. Oof, except for this one. So that's kind of what you can do as well. Just showcase what you want to learn. You just research your favorite artists, see what they're doing. You know, go on YouTube, see what an artist is doing that you like. This artist is Nicholas Soribe. He's amazing as a fine artist, but he also runs a YouTube channel that he shows how to draw, and then he sells his drawings later on. So that's pretty much all of it, I think. Oh, and then this is what would you do as an animator of a reel? So this is actually one of my friends. She did this. She did this. Yes, I am playing music. So, I mean, that's kind of what you can figure, and a way to figure out your style is to just look up who inspires you, what you like, and see what they're doing and literally steal from them. Like take their ideas, see how they're formatting themselves, see what are their, if you're interested in photography or in tattoos, if you want to go to a tattoo shop. I have some of my friends, they have to practice on pigskin. They have to go to, I think they went to tattoo shops, or they were just like, hey, let me be your mentee, let me study under you. But you have to just go to people who are in that field of what you want to do, research who they are, look at their background, look at their website, because that's their portfolio and the work that they've done. And you can see how they formatted not only their website, how they show what they're interested in, what they do, and all the work that they've done in the years past. And kind of, especially if you find people who are new or recent graduates at school, they'll write like where they went to school when they graduated, and you can see how far they've came.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Lisa. I do want to make sure that if either Javier or Valeria have some questions, they can put it in. Javier, I know Javier stepped out really quickly, but Valeria, I'm not sure if there's anything, any questions, anything that a comment that you want to make maybe, or, just in general. While they're formulating their thoughts, I did have a question for you though. The perspective that you were giving right now is for people that might want to go to school, right? Might want to go to an art school or do an art program.
Yeah.
But what would you, for example, let's say that, our students, the ones here or anyone else, that maybe that's not what they're intended to do right now.
Yeah.
Would you still suggest that they have an online portfolio or something of the sort to show their work and to maybe get started?
Yeah, that's why I was saying, if you were like I forgot what student example it was, but like if you were gonna sell merchandise online, or if you didn't want to go to school and have your own business or open up Etsy, you still have to show what you're about, because it's kind of like, how are you gonna be like, yeah, I'm an artist, and then they're gonna be like, cool, like, what do you do? And you're just gonna be like, oh, I do things, I do stuff, and you're like, stuff like what? And you're like, yeah, stuff. You're not gonna show anything, you're not gonna tell anything. So that's sort of like your portfolio, your body of work shows and tells people who you are and what you do. So I would say,
and I know that we were mentioning like everyone's on Instagram, right?
yeah,
But what about, you know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of people just post everything on Instagram. Would you suggest
Instagram's
people
also a beast, and it's
have
not...
like a separate, you know, Instagram and maybe like one of those free sites?
Oh yeah, you always, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Instagram, the tricky thing about Instagram is that, and then they also came out too, especially with Facebook, that's harmful to kids, and well, not just kids, but to adults, and that the beast of it really goes on to negative posting, or they want the most likes or whatever will get them the most attention. So social media is good because it lets us connect to other people, but your portfolio should be something that's about you and your work, and you don't want to get sucked into that trap of what you think appeals to others. So I would say having a website, whether it's on Squarespace like mine, even though that one you do have to pay for it, but if you're going to do something like wixsite.com, or if you're going to do something like Blogger, which is Google for free, or you can do even Tumblr, which is free, or even I think Twitter might be a bit better because you can just go to your media and it'll just show all your pictures, so you can do that as well. ArtStation is the other one for video games, film, not film industry like cinematographer, but more of film concept art for film. It's more specific to that niche. But yeah, I would say a portfolio is something that's definitely separate from your social media, because with social media you're fighting an algorithm, and it's good to remember that your social media, the algorithm of that is not reflective of who you are. It's just kind of like that algorithm is a reflection of all the data and everything that we have in our internet, of our footprint, telling us who we think we should be.
Yeah, that's very true. I also well, Javier is back, but Javier, basically, if you have any questions right now, feel free to unmute yourself, butt in, put it in the, you know, in the chat box. Any comments or questions that come up. I do have another question, because you mentioned that your portfolio is not just about the, you know, what you have done, but also about your needs. Could you explain a little bit more about that and how you would show your need?
Your need, yeah. So I said your need, kind of like what is it of your goal? So it's kind of like, well, what do you like? What do you need to show? Is your portfolio to run your own business? Is your portfolio kind of like, maybe you're a freshman, you're starting out, but you want to have a place to store it. You want to have a place like, this is today. This is I'm working on this project. Let me post this project somewhere else so I can have some feedback and have people see it. Or if you're going to do it for a gallery, are you going to practice for submitting for a scholarship? You know, so are you going to format it and have it being written out in detail? Like, you can just easily look up like, what are dimension settings? How do you label a piece of artwork, which is usually like length times width times height, or you have dimension involved if you're sculpture and you're taking photographs of that. And so a need is sort of, it's just kind of like, well, if you want a portfolio, or you think you can put a portfolio up, what is it going to be about? That's kind of like, that's your need. Why are you doing it? Why do you need a portfolio? Why are you worried about having one? Why do you want one? And then what purpose does it? You always want to think about, just overall in life, what will it serve you? It's the same thing like with emotions, or when you take things in, like, does it serve me? Am I thinking this way, but is it serving me to benefit? So is your portfolio serving you? Is it showing you your best work? Or your portfolio, when you put on your website, is it necessarily going to be something that's, you know, you throw away? Oh, that's what I forgot to show. Let me go back, because I did have another small, I kind of left really quickly, this one. right here. Like, so this work, I wouldn't show it as a portfolio of my work, because this work over here, while it's nice, it's also not my original design, my character design. This is a draw this in your style challenge, like I have right here. So this is just me practicing how I would take someone else's artwork and draw it as my own. Like, how would I implement that, or how would I study something? So for this one, I actually had the shadows, they're kind of negative, they're kind of against the light, it's kind of harsh. But this is a study that I did of just an art piece that I liked, a painting. And then these are more studies of just how I wanted to draw skin, but have it actually be more naturalistic and kind of like, this one's kind of cold, this one's more spooky, so the skin is literally green. And this one is really fiery and warm, but this one's cooler, but the eye kind of makes it have life inside, because I used the contrast color of orange and blue. So I had, these were kind of more of sketches that I want to use to develop my work, but I wouldn't necessarily put it in a portfolio or in something I'm going to submit or show people my best foot. You want to give people your best foot forward, and sort of like, your portfolio is your body of work. It's an introduction, so I can submit it to someone or let people see it online and be like, hi, I'm Lisa, and this is what I do. That's the goal. So I wouldn't consider this to be a portfolio, even though some of these are nice. Some of these, I like this this green to the magenta and this green to magenta, but they're both used for very different purposes. And like this purple, and it's the intent.
At any point, did you find it helpful, or did you ask somebody to to review your portfolio?
Oh my God, like all the time. I'm probably so annoying. all the time. It was, well, especially because I had to do the portfolio for the BFA. I was asking anyone and everyone, and I was asking, I was just like, how'd you get in? What did you do? Because I had, my goal was I needed to get in. I wanted to get into the BFA.
Who were the most helpful people for you when you asked for that advice?
People who were already in, professors sometimes, because sometimes it seems like advice of people who are already in it and kind of comfortable. You can be like, it's not that easy though, because you feel like you're struggling, but a lot of it is also a mental block too. So I would say that you could pretty much ask. I wouldn't ask if you're trying to get into somewhere more professional setting. I would ask your friends if they already are in the profession, or people in that profession of what you want. But I wouldn't ask someone without an art background that doesn't know, at least, if they don't know what goes into a composition or a design, you wouldn't necessarily want to ask them if you want to be a graphic designer. Because you'd be like, hey, does this make sense? Does this contrast too much? And they're gonna be like, what the hell is contrast? So at least you want to ask people who, reach out to them through emails. That was another thing I was gonna say. If you want to go into the animation industry and you want to learn more about internships, there's jobs of recruiters, and they have to go and they have to recruit people for certain types of work in the pipeline of the industry. So like, you can email professionals, or you can send an email out to your favorite artist on Instagram, or just be like, how did you get there? Oh my gosh, I love your work. There's like YouTube comment sections. There's artists who are on YouTube all the time and they're giving their feedback. There's blogs of people who are like, hey, this is what I do. This is how I got here. So I would say ask people who are in the field of where you want to go, or if you want to learn something new, seek out people who are already doing it. Do what you want.
And there's nationalportfolioday.org, I think. So they have in-person and virtual free portfolio reviews. So if you're seeking a master's, or you're in high school trying to get into college art program, so that's another option.
Yeah, and I'm sure just like how there is for the animation industry, there's portfolio club, there's a bunch of different clubs or expos for the animation industry, but there's going to be like the same thing for visual effects, for makeup, for just they're everywhere. So you're going to find your people.
I saw Javier, I saw you unmuted. Did you have a question?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that personally, when I'm trying to make portfolio throughout my years right now, because I casually draw and I don't have time to like actually, get, unless it's like a project that I have a feeling for, I normally just sketch and I don't think about it that much. So I was planning to for my portfolio because I still have every single freaking sketchbook since I was like 6. So I'm still
Awesome.
I'm planning on making like an evolutionary track of how my art has changed throughout the years as a portfolio, and how like I've started to do a bit more digital stuff, animation. Like I'm planning on to go into that.
That's
Which,
cool. That
yeah.
kind of sounds like you should just put it on a website, or put up a little probably Wix site or Weebly, and then just kind of like have it scheduled by the years, and take photographs of it so you don't lose that work.
Yeah, I need to find the sketchbooks. They're in the house in the box somewhere.
Oh yeah, scan it, because then you can scan it, have it digital, and then you will never lose it, as long as you don't lose the files, of course.
I have so many sketchbooks.
That's cool.
That's what I was gonna ask too. Like for example, Javier that is putting his entire life work of art, into a portfolio. Um, you know, have a general one, and then depending on whatever thing that you're going for, I would assume that it would be beneficial, right? Maybe to have something, with the piece of work that you're selecting, or I don't know, whatever is tailored for the program or job that Javier would be applying for.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'll be like, that's because it's kind of like you only want to show if you're going to apply for a job or for school, you're not going to show work when you're 6, because they're going to be like, is this you now? Because they won't know. And you're going to have to have a
Oh yeah, I was planning on time stamping everything. Yeah, so I wasn't gonna
but
just.
you also
take
wouldn't
this.
want to show that work either, because you just when you're like that young, because you kind of want to show your best foot forward. So I mean, like, that's kind of good for your own personal use, but if you want to do something in an industry, I would stick to what that industry, kind of like when I mentioned the expectation, it's kind of like, is this not only work I've done, but is this work meet the expectation required of me? And if you're expected to be a college level art student, then you need to show college level art. If you're going to show professional level, you need to be at professional level. Kind of different.
Well, I'm not either at the moment, so.
But that's okay.
So maybe having like an archive where you just, for I guess historical purposes, you can just have that and then tailor it, right? Have maybe for you, what do you do? Do you have like your master art portfolio, and then when you're presenting it, do you create another one, or do you just edit the one you have?
I'll create, like, if I want to get a different job, I'll apply to different jobs. As of late, I haven't, but when I do, it's kind of like when you do both, you apply to either or, and you tailor what you have towards that job, similar that you would a resume, and similar that you would to your cover letter. So I have a resume that if I apply to when I wanted to go into Yoli, I might put the projects that I worked on first, because that's more important. But if I apply to another position and maybe it's about exhibition or museum, then I'll put the exhibitions that I worked on first, because that's more important. So when I'm gonna apply to a job or get into a program, I'm gonna put what they want, what's more important to them, because I need to get in that way. That's how I'm gonna tailor it. That's when we talk about like tailoring your portfolio. It's because it's kind of like you kind of have to separate yourself from it's the same thing. It's what's their expectation, like your needs are something else, but their requirements and their rules and guidelines are another. So you have to work within that. But usually when you're in art, if you're going to do photography, they're not going to ask you to be a graffiti artist. So you're going to already be within those bounds. It just depends on what you need. But I think like Javier, his kind of example is more of, I would say that's more of a blog. Something that's more personal work. And you can have that in your portfolio. You can have that on your website. You can have a portfolio of like your work, whether it's traditional, digital, and then have separate tabs, and then another tab could be personal work. and you have all of your stuff there. So that way, if you're going to apply for a college, not for a college because you wouldn't give them a website necessarily, but if you're going to apply for a job, they would see what they need to first, because you need to get their attention, because there's so many.
Yeah, makes sense. Kind of like on your website, you have the little links. So just the one that says portfolio, that would be the one that's live, or you're always kind of changing. And then on the side, if we're using Javier's example, on the side, the other one can just say, like the repository of all the things that he has done. In the past.
It's the same, like if you're going to apply for animation, you want to have stuff for animation. You don't want to have a ton of work that's just riddles with like, here's a drawing I did when I was 10. Here's a sculpture. Because it's kind of like, if you're the person looking at their work, you're going to be so confused and like, who are you? Because it's kind of like, they're like, hi, I do this, hi, I do that, hi, I do that, hi, I do that. I'm like, hi, you want to see a drawing of me when I was 6? Hi, you want to see this sculpture I made in kindergarten? Hi, you want to see that's what we mean when we say like it's the introduction to who you are. So you want to keep it, that's kind of where you want to keep it consistent, and you want to pick and choose your best work for what's necessary.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. I am looking at the time, and I do see that it's
Yep.
we're at time now. So I just did I want to offer one last opportunity for Javier and Valeria to ask any questions, or if they have any comments, to go ahead and just you can just unmute yourself. But if there's no other comments, then we really appreciate you coming and sharing your experience with us, and then with the rest of the people that might watch this. For me, it's really important, at least for these people that might not be thinking yet of going into the art world, or that are like building their skills, because this is something that they might not have heard any other places. So thank you for sharing space with us, and hope to see you around, and hopefully Javier and Valeria will use you as a resource, someone that is connected with Artist Inc., and if they ever need to have their portfolio reviewed, you will go ahead and they'll go ahead and reach out to you.
Yeah, no problem, of course. For any of your other students, especially if they're interested in like applying to schools or anything like that for my field for illustration or animation.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
So much.